part of their civics unit at Batchelor Middle School, Miss Boyle's 8th grade ALPS class prepared and presented a mock trial, an effective way to teach the students about constitutional issues. This class activity is an example of an educational best practice.
At this time, do you have any pretrial motions or anything that I need to hear prior to convening the jury? They have been sworn and we're prepared to proceed. There being nothing, bailiff, if you'll escort the jurors and the jury to the court.
A mock trial is basically a fake civil court case that the case that our class actually did was a real case from several years ago that these students go through and they play all the parts, the roles, the witnesses, the attorneys, the jury members, and it's basically the equivalent of a real court case, just where you have kids doing everything.
We do the mock trial as part of our civics unit when we study the 3 branches of government, and so the mock trial goes along with the judicial branch, and I think the kids get a pretty good idea and a good understanding of what really happens with this idea of the right to a free trial by jury and kind of how that looks in a real case situation.
The mock trial was a really fun experience. I was on the jury, and it was interesting because we really had to use reasoning and use it in a real situation.
This was a great lesson because it taught us what it's like to actually take on the responsibility of a lawyer or a person in an actual court case, because I know there was a lot of reading involved and a lot of researching and a lot of thinking, you know, what could have happened here, what could explain why this person acted like this. So I think it's a really hands-on activity that gets the students thinking, so it's really good.
You weren't just sitting there doing work out of the textbook, you were actually getting involved with something that was pretty, at the time, seemed pretty realistic, and you got pretty caught up in everything. And I thought it was a fun and different way to get all the points across that our teacher was trying to get about the judicial system.
It was a different learning experience, certainly, than doing book work. And I learned a lot more about the judicial system by doing it than just by reading about it.
In a situation where, I mean, that really could be a part of their experience someday, either as a potential juror or somehow else connected to a court case or trial proceedings. Hands-on, active learning, having to research and prepare in that way.
The case we had was about a student at a high school who was offered a swimming scholarship for college, and the parents of the student thought that due to some information that was included with his transcript, that scholarship got revoked, and they had asked the school to actually not include that information with the transcript, and they felt that their rights were being violated and were asking for $28,000 to compensate for the damages.
The whole 8th grade ALPS class was involved. We each had our own specific parts.
I was the key witness for the prosecuting party suing the school board. I was a swimmer at the high school, and my parents felt that my swimming scholarship had been wrongly revoked because of the faculty at the school.
My role was I was a attorney for the defense, which meant I was a lawyer for the school corporation and the members of the school faculty who were being sued by the parents.
In the mock trial, I was a lawyer for the plaintiff, and that was a lot of fun because we got to investigate the case and read the actual laws, which was fun at times, and I think I learned a lot from it just because we got to step into the shoes of an actual lawyer.
I mean, I think that's probably kind of the apex of instruction and how students, tapping into how students are learning. It's pretty involved, and my work starts about 4 weeks, if not 6 weeks, before I actually introduce the mock trial to the class. I need to make sure that there's a judge. I think that's really important. That I've always had a real judge. 20 years ago, when I first did this with my senior U.S. government class in Porter County, we started off with Judge Kickbush. So I've only had a real judge preside over my mock trials, and I couldn't imagine it being as effective any other way.
I had to write a witness statement describing my biography and certain personal information about myself and my education and what my parents did.
So yeah, I need to make sure I have the judge, I need to make sure we have a courtroom. I use IU law students to help us. Over the years, I've had different attorneys come in and talk to the classes about trial procedures. I need to make sure that those people are available.
I think compared to everything else we've been doing in that class, it was a lot more time consuming, and you had to think a lot more about what you're doing, and things just became a lot harder to do. The first day, we didn't actually even go over the case the first day. The first day we split up into what roles we'd be playing, into attorneys, witnesses, and jury members, and the bailiff. And once the jury members and the bailiff left, because the jury isn't supposed to know what's happening in the case until they actually get to the courtroom, we went over the case, we reviewed the facts, we started doing depositions of all the witnesses, we got their witness statements, we started collecting evidence, and then tonight we're going in and actually going to trial. So.
You may be seated.
For his entire schooling career, Herman and Carol Murray of Zionsville, Indiana, were extremely involved in their son, Eric Murray's activities and education. Eric was an excellent student with a passion for swimming, and he showed a great sense of leadership.
The Murrays have complained in 3 counts that the defendants caused the plaintiff's mental anguish, suffering, and monetary loss for which the Murrays are entitled compensation. In addition, they believe that Kelly Hodgkin, principal of Zionsville High School, violated the privacy rights of the Murray family. On no counts do we believe the school corporation or its employees are liable for said violations and complaints.
You swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you. Be seated, please, and state your name.
Eric Murray.
Counsel, you may inquire.
Describe how swimming has affected your life, please.
It is the sport I feel most comfortable with, and I'm able to participate well in it with my disability.
The process or the organization of that is pretty much the same year to year to year as far as what has to be done for the timeline, where the attorneys have to be at each day, what the witnesses need to be doing each day, and the jury, and things like that. And then that goes on day to day for about a solid 2 weeks before the mock trial happens. I think the best compliment comes from the judge that presides over the mock trial. This year we had Steve Galvin, and he was very complimentary. He said we were the best prepared class that he's ever worked with in a mock trial situation. So he was, he was really impressed. And so the students can identify with a case. It's an actual experience. It's hands-on. It's inquiry-based. They have to find their own answer. The students don't know how the case actually turns out until after we've had the mock trial. So yeah, I think that's pretty genuine. What I can bring to the classroom is just kind of either my personal experience or what I've learned as a teacher with regards to presenting it in the instruction. But when you have real practitioners or people who do that for a living and what they can bring for their personal experiences, I think that's very powerful.
After deliberating, we have reached a verdict. Even though the hearing was not specifically requested, it is required by law. According to several of the witnesses, Eric was treated in the same way any other student would have been, referring to the transcripts sent out to the colleges. It is not fair for him to receive the money. However, there should have been a hearing. I will take this as a defendant's verdict in this cause. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is this in fact your verdict?
I think the mock trial is definitely something that should be in curriculum a lot because it's really helpful. Like, I personally got a lot out of it, and I think a lot of other people did too.
Because it's active, it's inquiry based. The students are given an actual case to work from, one that it's from a case, always a case from Indiana, and one I think with which the students can identify somehow. And I have several different cases I use. It just kind of depends on the year.
It helped me understand some of the real life situations that people have to do, and it helped me reason because I was on the jury. We had to really think about everything we did.
If there were any new teachers out there or an instructor who is interested in trying this for the first time, that you have to I just jumped in with both feet. My husband was in law school at the time, so that's probably where I got the idea, and I just jumped in and started working through it. So over, I don't know, the 14 years that I've probably done the mock trial, I think it's almost down to a science now, where I think I've got the formula in place. But yeah, I'd encourage anybody to try it.